You know, we got another week ahead of us here, another week behind us. It's the middle of August, right, bud?
Yep.
We've been out chasing fish. It's been pretty stable in terms of weather patterns. You know, we've been finding consistency in that 70-degree air temp, and you know what? It's still staying in the 70s for water temperature, which we did lose a little bit of temp with those cold rains and the colder weather that came through a week or so back. But things are bouncing back nicely. We've seen 80 degrees. Water temps are hitting the mid to upper 70s for surface temp. The fish are staying active. Again, I know I'm beating a dead horse. They're staying on the outside weed lines. That's where we've been catching a lot of our fish, on the outside deep weed lines. Again, it seems like the game fish, the panfish, everything's relating to those areas. We have found some fish shallow in the wee morning hours and the evening hours when the sun comes up and the sun goes down. But you need to be more specific on spots. I'm still going to encourage you to focus on outside weed lines. And what you'll see on your locator, on your electronics, is as you slide out those weed lines, the weed lines are becoming deeper and deeper and deeper for some reason this year. We're seeing weed lines as deep as 27, 28, 29, 30 feet of water, even on lakes like Minnetonka, Forest Lake, you name it, there's some weeds growing out deeper, and those are going to produce fish. A lot of fish are going to use those deeper weed lines because they're seeking out cooler water right now. The panfish are there, the game fish are there. It just makes sense. So as you slide up the weed lines, pay attention to your electronics and you will see pods of those fish. Oftentimes they're bait fish, meaning sunfish and crappies. If you want to target those species, perfect place to hit them. But if you're going to target pike, walleye, and bass, guess what? What happens when you see bait fish or forage? You see game fish. That's what they're following oftentimes. Find the bait, find the fish. So pay close attention to your electronics this time of year. If you're a bass angler, you may be flipping heavy milfoil, heavy cover, and that's perfectly fine. You want to find those hard bottoms within that heavy cover. And the easiest way to do that, like I've said in the past, is reliant on a 3-color flasher. I use my Vexilar on the bow of my boat. If you're using an LCD model, you can do similar things, but that 3-color flasher seems to work exceptionally well for finding hard bottom, where I adjust the dial. If I'm in, let's say, 9, 10 feet of water inside milfoil, I may put it on a 20 or even 30 or 40 foot mode so I can see that second echo. So if I'm in 9 feet, you're going to see another good solid mark at 18 feet, a double echo. That's going to tell you where that bottom content changes. That's how you find that hard bottom. Those areas are key this time of year because they bring in cooler water, they bring in bait fish, they bring in crayfish that big bass like to feed on, and that's where you want to pitch your baits. All milfoil flats are not created equal. Sometimes we go out there and say, let's go pitch or punch the milfoil, and you see this expansive flat, the size of our neighborhood, and you go, where do I cast? Find that hard bottom. And sometimes this time of year can be tough to find the hard bottom. That's why I always encourage you in the spring and fall when the weeds lay down and you can see things easier to look for those harder bottoms. In the spring when the water's clear and there's not as many weeds, you can see the rock, you can see the gravel. Make note of that stuff, mark it on your GPS because you will come back and use those spots later. Not just now, also in the winter time. Those are all spots that hold fish throughout the calendar period, so make note of those areas as you start to seek out spots to fish. So in terms of locational stuff, we're on weed lines. Something really simple this time of year to cover water. The kids go back to school in a couple weeks. An easy thing to do to cover water. I was just talking to Mike Farrell the other day too, and he was deploying this tactic in catching fish, and it's one that works exceptionally well. How's that for a cute little crankbait? Just a little Salmo Hornet, nothing fancy, 3s, 4s, and 5s. There's various sizes. Even a 5's not a big profile. This happens to be just a 3. But you can pull this with a spinning rod. You can cast this with a spinning rod. You control it, do a number of things. It's a great profiled, small, minnow-looking bait that gets down 8, 10 feet of water, 12 feet of water, depending on the model you grab. And this will catch everything from sunfish and crappies to walleyes to pike and bass. They are little pike candy. Could you imagine a pike eating that?
Yeah.
Northern pike will bite that if you don't have a leader, and they will take it from you. It's going to happen. It will happen. But this will catch you a lot of fish. This little profiled crankbait on an outside weed line is an easy way to fish right now. And if you start finding pods of fish, let's say you move around an inside edge of a point and you start getting bit, the rods are going off or you're getting action, that sort of stuff, you can stop and pitch these sorts of baits. Or you can turn to a jig and pitch that area if you feel like you got fish pinned in a certain spot. This last week we were on Minnetonka one day and we happened just to fish a weed line. There was 2 of us and we were fishing a weed line hard. I had a feeling there was going to be some fish in the weed line. And this time of year, the fish are schooled. If you catch one, you usually catch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can make the exact same cast right back to the same spot you caught. So if I catch a fish right there in the weed line and I get hooked up and Jack's with me, I'll have him cast to the same, cast right there, same spot. and oftentimes you get hooked up again. They're isolated on pieces of structure. So that's where if you're covering water with a crankbait and you get bit, you can come back and fish that same piece of structure a little more effectively by slowing down. Another easy tactic this time of year that I love to fish, just posted a video on one of my pages the other day about jigging for crappies. Remember that? We had them pinned, looking at them on the electronics, on the Vexilar, right over them in 20 feet of water. Just a small 32nd ounce jig head, 16th ounce jig head with your favorite plastic. I happen to use just 2-inch twister tails more often than not, or little minnow baits, can catch about everything that swims. We caught big bass doing that. We caught, of course, crappies and sunfish, walleyes, you eat it. So just sometimes thinking small can catch you a lot of fish. So a lot of things were thrown at you. You want to be aggressive this time of year, cover water. If you're not finding schooling fish, then you're probably not going to be where the fish are. So fan casting areas until you go, whack, we got one here. Hone into where you got that fish, see if there's more, and keep moving till you find those fish. You also want to keep in mind this time of year that you want to practice selective harvest. So if you get over a good pot of fish because they are schooling, take enough for a meal. If you want to eat fish, I encourage you, that's perfectly fine. Take enough for a meal, let the rest go. I see a lot of anglers this time of year put a big bass in the live well for a pitcher. That's great. If you want to keep catching fish quick and fast, and you want to throw a nice fish in the live well for a pitcher, that's fine too. Just be smart about things. Get out there, have some fun, catch some fish, enjoy the weather. Summer's going to be over soon, believe it or not. We just feel like we started summer. It's going to be over soon. So get out there, have some fun, catch some fish, be safe, and we'll catch you next week. Right, J-Man?
Yep.
Have a good one.